Have you ever looked at a name and felt the weight of a storm brewing beneath it, something so fierce it promises to append everything you thought you knew about this team? Have you felt your chest tighten, like the city itself is holding its breath before a rider's roar? Something is shifting in Detroit, whispers slipping between the cracks of empty stadium seats and quiet practice fields. A tug-of-war between hope and heartbreak clawing its way back into our bones. Light up the comments if your Lion's heart is pounding right now, because what I'm about to reveal, it's not just a rumor. It's a seismic jolt straight into the soul of this franchise. Behind closed doors, executives are holding their breath. Scouting reports are inked with trembling hands. And sources close to the inner circle are murmuring about a transformation so profound, it could flip the script on this cursed rebuilding saga. Jake Bates. Yeah, you heard me right. And right alongside him, Jameson Williams, a name dripping with unreal potential and heartbreaking what could have been from his time elsewhere, now tangled in a plan that the Lions believe might just be the missing piece we never knew we needed. Picture this, a hard-nosed linebacker who can sniff out the opposition like a Detroit bloodhound, paired with a wide receiver who's fast as lightning and raw as the Motor City grit we bleed daily. It's a move soaked in tactical genius and emotional desperation, a gamble so bold, so unapologetically Lions, it's hard not to feel your heart race and your soul scream. We've stared down heartbreak since '91, decades of near misses, bone-crushing losses, and seasons where it felt like we were caught in an endless loop of disappointment. From the ashes of the Caldwell years, from the days when suggestions of maybe next year were cruel taunts, to the nights spent dreaming of winning streaks that never came, Detroit has never stopped believing, however bruised, however battered. So when you hear that the Lions might be remodeling guys like Bates and Williams, it's not just a roster note. It's a declaration, a fire challenge tossed into the sea of doubters and naysayers who always said Detroit could never break through. But it's not just about tweaking player roles or calling a new route. This is about identity. What if Bates, with his unyielding tenacity and chess master intellect for defense, becomes the backbone of a unit that turns the tide in games we were destined to lose? What if Jameson, with every step he takes on that field, breaks chains we didn't even know were still wrapped around this franchise, chips away the rust, and becomes the ignition that sparks a top-tier offense? What if this remodeling is Detroit's secret weapon, a surgical strike on the heart of mediocrity? And here's where your veins should be storming. What if it's too late? What if the window we've been praying for slams shut in the face of these changes? What if the promise of Bates and Williams turning into Lions legends is just another beautiful hope swallowed by the cold Detroit winters and harsh realities of the NFL? The stakes couldn't be higher, and the city knows it. The heartbeat of Detroit rides on this chance, this overhaul that could either resurrect a legend or shatter the last shards of belief we've clung to for so long. The coaches are watching, the fans are waiting, and the pulse of the Motor City is syncing with this dramatic, nerve-wracking plan. And if this domino falls, if the gamble pays off, you won't believe who's next. Because if Bates and Williams become the architects of this Detroit rebirth, then the Lions aren't just coming back. They're coming for blood. And now the fuse is lit. All that's left is to watch, to hope, and brace for the explosion that might just end this era of suffering once and for all. Shatter the silence. Detroit, the coming storm is coming for our souls, and it's gonna hit harder than ever before. For years, we've watched our hopes flicker like a dying candle in the window's dark. Soul-crushing seasons where hope seemed as distant as a playoff win that could change our history forever. We've endured the heartbreak of 0-16, the crushing embarrassment of Dan Orlovsky's safety that haunted us like a ghost, the exodus of Calvin Johnson, leaving behind a city that still dreams of what could have been, and the legend of Barry Sanders walking away with tears, leaving us to wonder if we'd ever see a franchise star rise this high again. Honestly, we've wrestled with the ghost of Jim Caldwell's firing, of near misses in the playoffs that shattered our hearts, in last season's grit-filled charge that had us believing maybe, just maybe, this franchise could finally turn. the Tide. But the whispers now aren't just about tweaking the roster. They're about rewriting the very DNA of this team, flipping the script from perennial underdog to a force to be feared. And here's the kicker. They're betting on Jake Bates, a guy who's been underestimated, dismissed as just another linebacker in a league full of monsters, but who's secretly been brewing under the radar, an unsung hero with a mind as cold and sharp as a Detroit winter. Meanwhile, Jameson Williams, lightning fast, electric, a flash of raw potential that promises to electrify the Motor City's veins, is entangled in this gamble like a last hope, because what if Williams finally blossoms in a new scheme, in a culture that refuses to accept surrender? What if his raw talent becomes the missing link in an offense desperate for that spark, the secret weapon to finally shatter defenses and turn this team into a lightning bolt of chaos? The front office, behind closed doors, is playing chess there. Moves calculated, reckless, dangerous as hell, knowing that their gamble could either make Detroit a legend or crush it beneath the weight of expectations unfulfilled. The NFC North, those sneaky, relentless rivals, are watching with grim anticipation, knowing the Lions just might be on the edge of a rebirth that could wipe out the scars of past failures, or blow up in spectacular fashion every locker room, talk, every exchange on the practice field. Whispers of doubts are drowned under the pounding of Detroit's heart, heavy with hope and history and pain. We've been burned so many times, seen our dreams dashed in heartbreaking fashion, whether it was last season's wild card collapse or Calvin settling into retirement, knowing he gave everything just to sow the seeds of a comeback yet here. We are again clinging viciously to this shred of possibility. The weight of this moment is palpable, electric, because if they pull this off, if Bates transforms into a defensive fortress and Williams finally awakens as the game changer he's destined to be, Detroit's roar will shake the very foundation of the NFL. But if it all falls apart, if the window closes just as we're reaching for it, what then? Is this city doomed to forever chase shadows? Or are we on the precipice of an untold revolution so fierce we won't recognize our Lions once the dust settles? The coaches are watching, the fans are holding their breath, and the very soul of Detroit is pulsing in unison, screaming, waiting, because if these gambles succeed, if Bates and Williams become the catalyst for our salvation, only one question remains. Who will be left standing when the chaos finally erupts?